Hey there, mateys. Welcome aboard our lively little corner of the internet. We're super excited to set sail with you on today's topic, living the dream aboard your very own boat, nomad style. Now, we're sure you've daydreamed about cruising from port to port, barbecuing under the stars, and diving off your deck into crystal clear waters. But boat living is about more than just intrepid adventure. It's also embracing a time-honored tradition that dates back centuries. History is chock full of riveting tales of folks who made the water their home. The earliest evidence of this nomadic water lifestyle can be traced way back to our ancestors in the Paleolithic era. These hardy seafarers laid the groundwork for what would eventually evolve into entire maritime cultures all around the world. Sea gypsies, or the Bajau, for example, have been floating around the Southeast Asian seas for more than 1,000 years, making the ocean their home. They are born, live, and die on their boats, truly embodying the essence of maritime life. These waterborne nomads have got boat living down to an art, forging a unique bond with the sea that any modern liveaboard enthusiast can learn from and aspire to. Boat living is about freedom, exploration, and a different connection to the world around you. Trading a static home for a floating one isn't necessarily the easiest or simplest life choice, but if the sea is calling, it's a tremendously rewarding way of life that can open your eyes to new horizons. Whether you're a landlubber intrigued by the idea of living aboard a boat, or an old sea dog contemplating trading your land legs for a life at sea, understanding the deep-rooted history behind this culture is a great place to start your voyage. Jump on board! Who knows where the current might take you? Think boat living and the likes of the legendary Christopher Columbus or Marco Polo pop up, right? These badass adventurers brought a whole new meaning to packing up and shipping out. Their voyages revolutionized seafaring, trade, and exploration. Columbus stumbled upon the Americas, while Marco Polo spun tales of the Orient, melting minds and inspiring generations of globetrotters. But boat living isn't just for the explorers and wanderlust chasers out there. It has woven itself into the fabric of various societies across time and geography, from the floating Uros Islands of Peru to the boat-dwelling Tao people of Hong Kong. In fact, living aboard has evolved from necessity to choice, a lifestyle option that has gained momentum with the rise of minimalists, bird flippers to status quo, and those simply charmed by the lure of water. Now, shifting life to the sea does sound idyllic, but you gotta get on the right side of Harbor Master Highbrow before hoisting your sails. Yes, legal nuts and bolts. Marinas have living aboard regulations, and many regions distinguish between liveaboards and cruisers. While some places, such as Florida, are pretty chill about boat living, others, like Marina del Rey, have turned the tide, imposing stricter liveaboard laws. But the winds of political response don't always blow in the same direction. Recognizing the viability of floating homes for tackling urban land crunch, cities like Amsterdam have legally incorporated houseboats into their residential zoning plans. Conversely, in locations with environmental concerns or coastal overpopulation, there have been crackdowns on liveaboards to protect maritime habitats. So yes, boat living may be the perfect solution for those yearning for freedom, adventure, or a simpler life. But it's not all smooth sailing and sunset gets. It's intertwined with the evolution of societies, impacted by legal hitches, and sways with the winds of political climate. But hey, to live among waves and wake up to seagulls sounds kind of fantastic, doesn't it? Hey, pal, let's chat about boat living, right? It's like, who needs bricks when you got salt and waves? I right? Picture this: back in the old days of the 20th century, the idea of ditching the suburban American dream for a life on the water was as catchy as a new Beatles tune. People saw an escape in the freedom of the sea, the romance of an ever-changing horizon. It was a whole new way of life that swiftly bobbed into the mainstream. You've got folks like Bernard Moitessier to thank for this wave of salty sea living. Oh, Bernie was one of these seafaring inspirations in the 60s and 70s, just a regular Joe who decided he wanted more than a 9-to-5 and a white picket fence. He instead chose to explore the unknown, taking the plunge into a life of sea exploration and freedom. The guy was such a boss, he even wrote a few books about it, giving a bunch more people the itch for the liveaboard life. But hey, you can't live on a dinghy and call it a day, right? So boat designs had to jump in tandem with this growing longing for a life at sea. No longer were they just transport vessels. They were also abodes, each being refashioned with living quarters, mini kitchenettes, full plumbing systems. The lot, from small sailboats to yachts and houseboats, over decades, diversity and comfort characteristics started to seep in for that essential homely feel. Heck, some of these modern liveaboards are finer than some penthouses, if you ask me. Point is made, boat living ain't like it used to be, and that's all down to popular culture, some key folks, and the evolution of boat designs, right? It's come a long way. We've come a long way from hammocks on wooden galleons to a full-on floating condo. Now, at the end of the day, whether you're dreaming of a perky little sailboat or a full-on multi-hulled liveaboard, you've got a lot more options than your seafaring ancestors ever did. Living on the water isn't just for grizzly old mariners anymore. It's becoming mainstream. You ditch the concrete jungle and predictable suburbia for a sense of freedom, adventure, and unparalleled connection with nature. Imagine waking up to a beautiful sunrise over the water with the possibility of it being a different harbor every week. Your home becomes a literal passport to myriad ports. Can it get any cooler? You basically sell most of your belongings because, well, where would you put your couch on a boat? It sort of creates a neat, minimalist lifestyle by default. Dealing with boat maintenance and the sometimes harsh reality of weather conditions also becomes part of your daily routine. But it's all part of the gig that people have fallen in love with. Talking about people being in love with it, meet Tom and Anna, a couple of city dwellers turned seafarers who gave it all up to live on a boat. They say the first few months were tricky, getting used to small spaces and occasional bouts of seasickness. Guess this isn't one for the folks who get queasy on a Ferris wheel, right? Tom and Anna, however, loved every bit of it. From fitting their lives into neat compartments to becoming more in tune with the elements. There's also Susan, a solo sailor who points out the thrill of docking in a different place every time she pleases. Or simply a freedom you can't really put a price tag on. Sure, living on a boat isn't for everyone. Like everything, it has its rough edges, but for those who take the plunge, it promises a life less ordinary. Being a nomad on the water is about embracing a rich Hansen life experience outside the norm. And evidently, more and more people are caught hook, line, and sinker. Living aboard a boat isn't just about stunning sunrises and salty air. It can sometimes feel like you've signed up for the world's most unpredictable roller coaster. One moment, you're luxuriating in tranquil solitude. The next, you're battling a surprise leak. But hey, as long as you got duct tape handy, it ain't a big deal. Let's talk about the good stuff first. You know, those crazy cat ladies with like 9 cats. Living on a boat is kind of like that, but with dolphins. You can't put a price tag on the feeling of freedom as you push off the dock or on the tranquility of a quiet anchorage. It's also good for the wallet, as boat living can be much cheaper than staying put in a house or an apartment. You're gonna get buff too. Your abs will thank you for the constant balancing and your biceps for hauling anchor. Living aboard a boat also means tons of fresh air and vitamin D, which are great for mental health. There's nothing like the peaceful sway of your boat to lull you to sleep after a hard day's work. But it ain't all smooth sailing. Things you took for granted, like quick showers or massive fridges or reliable internet, well, let's just say they might get tricky. But the good news is you'll find that you need a lot less stuff than you think you do to be happy. It's minimalistic living at its finest. Relationships on the water are different too. There's a deep sense of camaraderie and community among liveaboards. An unspoken, I got your back principle. Turns out you don't just dock your boat. You pull up right next to your new best friend, who's ready to help you tackle that stubborn engine or share a sunset beer. Sure, you might not see them for a while as you go your separate ways, but the bond remains strong. In truth, living on a boat is hardly a walk in the park, but for those who adopt this lifestyle, the rewards far outweigh the challenges. Just remember, life's not about the destination. It's about the voyage. Living on a rolling home, it's a dream, right? Popping around from port to port like a seasick vagabond. But let's sugarcoat things. Maintaining a vessel isn't always smooth sailing. And let's not forget our undying love for Wi-Fi, the lack of which on remote moorings could be a real bummer. But hey, we sailors are known for racing against the waves, right? Now, moving on to something that's close to our hearts, the big blue and her well being. We're drifting more towards sustainable boat living these days because we do care about Mother Nature. We're experimenting with solar panels, wind turbines, and even water turbines. Some of us even have onboard recycling systems and are attempting zero waste. Sure, we might not be perfectly green yet, but we're sailing in the right direction. You get me. Looking forward, the horizon appears promising for our sea-loving fraternity. As more folks jump aboard the floating home wagon, innovation will surge and solutions to current challenges are bound to emerge. Areas such as technology integration for better navigation and communication, renewable energy solutions, and waste disposal systems have massive growth potential. So there you have it, a quick dip into boat living's ups, downs, and future. If you dig what you've heard, hit the subscribe button for more boat living truths, tips, and tales. And oh, do remember to give this video a thumbs up if it helped you get a better perspective on choosing to live aboard a boat. Until next time, keep your sails high and the wind in your hair.